Hello?
Hey there. Can you see me okay, or?
Yeah, I can see you fine. Yes.
Perfect. I'm just in the staff room. I'm still at school. I just got my classroom painted, so just trying to figure this out. I'm recording the call here, and I have never done this before, so I'm hoping this works here. One second. Sorry. Yeah, I think it's working. Okay, thank you so much for making time, and sorry for not coordinating the schedule right. I know there's some times that were kind of iffy, but anyway.
Yep.
So I'm doing this photography project for a class, and we had to pick a skill that we wanted to learn more about and use technology to learn more about it. So I thought Skype would be kind of cool to kind of get to know someone who does photography and to record it and put it in a blog post and just share what I learned. And so thanks so much for making time. I really appreciate that. I'm only going to steal about 20 minutes of your time, if that's okay. And so I just have some questions, and they could turn into other questions. I don't know. So first, what got you interested into photography?
It's kind of weird. Actually, a lot of people I know, they always say they had a passion for photography at a young age or something like that. I actually hated photography. It's kind of weird. It's a funny story. Is what got me into photography was after high school, bought my first car, and like all boys do, they like to trick it out and put money into their car. So I did that, and it got to a point where I started putting my car into car shows. And I remember I took it to a car show in Saskatchewan, and they had these models that would come and stand by your car. And I'm like, oh, cool. There's a model on my car. I didn't think anything of it. I'm just some kid taking pictures of some girl hanging out on his car. Cool. So took her photo, and she was like, that's a really good picture of me. Can you send it to me? Sure. So I sent it to her. Didn't think anything of it. 2 weeks later, she... I don't even think it was Facebook at the time. It was like MySpace or Hi-Fi. She goes, do you do weddings? I'm like, no. So I thought about it, and I ended up booking her wedding, charged $200 and did a wedding, and kind of went from there. Closer to her wedding day, I realized, I probably need a better camera. And at that time, I was using this little point and shoot camera that wasn't very sophisticated at all, and got into an upgraded camera, which still wasn't very good, but at that time I was like, this is awesome. And it just kind of word of mouth and went from there, and I just fell in love with it from that point there.
That's super cool. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a different story than, like I said, it's not I had a passion since I was a little kid. No, I hated photography then.
Yeah, well, and that's cool. You didn't like it, and then all of a sudden took a picture, someone liked it, and then, and then it kind of became a job. That's your job, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's I had other interests in art, so if it wasn't photography, I was doing website design, so I had an eye for that. I was heavily into skateboarding, so I was doing filming and taking video of my skateboard tricks. So I'm not sure if maybe that had something to do with it as well, but kind of worked its way into photography.
Yeah, very, very cool. So what kind of photography do you do mostly? Do you do weddings and still, and do you do other types of photography besides that?
I started when I was starting with photography, it was skateboarding. And obviously the weddings, right? And when I got into photography, I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to go. I got into weddings, and I was ready to give up weddings. I wasn't quite sure what the workflow for a wedding was.
Okay.
And then probably in 2009, when I started to go, this is becoming a business. I'm making some money off this. I found that workflow, and I fell in love with weddings. So my primary business is weddings, but at that time I was shooting fashion and glamour and the odd boudoir shoot. And then just in the past 2 years, I'm slowly starting to find myself shoot more commercial, more of the private glamour. And this year, fitness. Saskatchewan was hit with the fitness bug, and
Yeah.
I've been so busy with fitness shots that I haven't had time to do anything else. And it's actually the fitness photos have been cutting into the wedding photos.
Okay.
Yeah, so I really enjoy it. So I'm not sure if weddings is what I still do. That's what was in my business plan was weddings, but I wish, like, weddings is it's a tough gig and it's not for everyone, and I think I'm to the point where eventually I might have to slow back on weddings or cut back on weddings and then do what I really want to do, and that's the fitness and the fashion and the glamour stuff. It's a lot more creative. It's a one-on-one relationship instead of you and like 20 other people, right?
Right, yeah, instead of a big group of people. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's super cool. Yeah, I could have a lot of fun with that, I can see. What kind of camera do you use, by the way? Like, do you have one, or I'm guessing you might have a lot of cameras?
I have multiple cameras. I even got them ready to show you if you want.
Okay, sure.
So,
yeah.
It's actually kind of cool. So I shoot with Canon, a 5D Mark II and a 5D Mark III.
What does that mean?
They're not the super high-end professional cameras. They're they're the wedding photographer cameras, right?
Okay.
I did not start off with those cameras. I started off, like I said earlier, with a point-and-shoot junky camera.
Right.
I moved into the entry-level SLR camera, which was a Canon Rebel. And I do apologize, my dog decided to join us.
That's okay.
In the video. The exciting news is that just last March, I moved over to a different type of camera system called medium format. And that's called, the brand name is called Mamiya, and it's a Credo 40. And the cool thing about that is I was the first person in Saskatchewan to ever have a digital medium format camera. My buddy, Kiriako, he picked one up as well, so it's exciting that the two of us are the only two in Saskatchewan. And it's actually right here. So this is the Credo 40 camera. So kind of looks a little bit different. So this is what a medium format camera looks like.
Okay. Wow, it's a lot nicer than my camera.
This is what your typical SLR Canon camera looks like, and then you compare it to a medium format camera.
So which one of the two is better? Like, which one is higher quality, I guess? Or do they serve two completely different purposes?
Two different purposes. It's kind of funny. This camera, thousands and thousands of dollars cheaper. There's more technology in it in regards to this thing can see in the dark.
How much was it?
This one was about, with what you see right here, this is probably about $5,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
The technology's here. I can take a picture in a dark ceremony or a dark church and get really good photos. You can snap away at this. They call it machine gun shooting, where I can just go boop, 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 and I can hammer out a lot of images at once, and they're going to be clear, they're going to be high quality and sharp. This camera, on the other hand, is the cost of a car.
Wow.
More money than most people's cars. It's slower. You don't have that option to just pick it up and take a picture. Although the quality is 1,000 times better, you have to have perfect light. You can't take this camera into a dark church. It just doesn't work. It's meant for perfect light. So when you take a picture with this thing, you're literally holding it up and going, okay, ready, wait, click. It's like the scene in Austin Powers where she's taking the picture of the uncle.
Right.
Takes forever to
why is that one? Why is the one you just showed me more expensive then? If it's
it's a medium format, so it's got a larger sensor in there.
Okay.
Yeah, the higher megapixels. It's a different type of sensor. It's a CCD sensor.
Okay.
A CMOS sensor. So this is a 20 megapixel camera, and this one here is a 40 megapixel camera. You put that on this large sensor, and the quality is just night and day different. So when I take a picture with this one, I could zoom in and it will look like I can pick the eyelashes off of someone.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it's
incredible.
it has a different look and feel. It's almost like going film. It's that digital, but that film look to digital, if that makes sense. It's
Yeah.
the one cool thing about it is that when you need a new part, you don't. Well, obviously the lenses last forever, but if I ever need a new camera, right? So on an SLR, when you need a new camera, you got to buy a whole new body, like the whole works, right?
Right.
Whereas with this camera, just this back part is separate. So this back part is separate from the body, separate from the lens. So when I need a new part, I just need to replace this back piece. I don't need to replace the whole camera and the body and everything. It's kind of interesting how it works. Everything's modular.
Okay.
Mix and match pieces together.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. That's super cool.
I talk about this stuff, so I can go on forever about it.
There was actually, I was going to ask, there was one girl in my class. She noticed I was doing a photography project, and she kind of had an interest in it too. It's not her project, but she asked me what kind of camera I was using, and I'm using like a Panasonic, like super cheap Walmart camera. Like, it's not super bad, but I mean, for a beginner, like just to play around with it, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
so she wanted me to ask you if she wanted to buy a camera under, I don't know, I forget the price she wanted, but a cheap camera like under $200. What would you recommend?
An iPhone.
An iPhone? Yeah.
I don't know if you can buy a camera really for under $200.
Because I think when I bought mine, it was under $200, I'd say, but I don't know. What would be a cheap camera for her to look into?
You always want something a little bit more quality. It's hard to say. Like, it comes down to features. If you want a camera that does everything for you and you don't have to think and you don't want to put any creativity behind it.
So that's the automatic kind of thing?
Yeah, you could probably buy some camera for $150, $200 on Boxing Day sale, but get what you pay for, right?
Mm-hmm.
For example, I have this camera. Like, this is my travel camera, this little guy here.
Right.
So this is
that's like what mine looks like. Mine could have been a little more than 200. I don't even remember, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, it just depends what you want for features. Like, this thing here probably takes just as good of photos as this thing.
Okay.
It's all manual. It's just not as a workhorse. Like, I wouldn't take this to do a paid wedding. Yeah. This would be I'm going to Ontario to visit my family, and I don't want to carry this beast around.
Or get it wrecked.
I'm not going to lie, though. I'm usually too lazy to even bring this, so it's my son that takes the pictures half the time.
Right. Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at the questions I was having here. Do you ever, like, an iPhone camera, like, I have an iPhone 5S, is that, would you say, a better camera than, kind of like the one you just showed me, the, if you took to Ontario, like that kind of camera?
Yeah.
I mean, I use my 5S all the time. Would you say that's a pretty bad thing to do, or would you say that's okay?
Not at all. This day and age, like, the cell phones the cameras on cell phones are pretty high end. Like, they're pretty awesome. I'm going to actually probably say that the iPhone is probably a better camera. Not maybe quality-wise, but more, it's portable. You can stick it in your pocket. There's more of a chance you're going to pull your iPhone out and take a picture than take this out. This is obtrusive. Everyone knows you're taking a picture, right?
Exactly.
At least with your iPhone, you can at least, if you're going to take a picture of someone, you can just fake it and look like you're going to take a selfie, but...
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah.
It's not as intrusive. It's,
When kids are always, I mean, I'm a teacher. Kids are always taking out their phones and taking pictures and stuff.
I've taken some shots, I've taken shots on my phone where other people are like, wow, how did you take that? And I've seen other people take shots on their phones, or that's all they take their photos with is with their phones. And I'm going, wow, I can't even take that with my crazy expensive camera. It just comes down to how you see light, or just what the subject is. Obviously, if you're in Jamaica, you're going to get some pretty awesome shots, whether it's on an iPhone or an SLR, right?
Oh, exactly. It really depends what the subject is, I guess.
Yeah.
So like I've been playing around with my camera a little bit, and like before I started this whole project, I just kind of, I look at something I like, I take a picture of it. That was kind of like my whole theory, and I've always kind of had an interest in photography, and I'm trying to just not, look at something and take a picture. So instead, I'm playing around with these 3 things on my camera, and sometimes I know what I'm doing. I could be inside, and and it works. But I'm doing a lot of like nature photography, so outside. Okay. And when it was really looking nice out with the leaves and trees and stuff, I'd be out there playing around with my camera. And the 3 things that on YouTube and stuff, it was aperture, iOS, and shutter speed. Those 3 things. What are those? How do you play around with those things?
So aperture. Yeah, aperture is like that's the lens. So the depth of field they call it. So different lenses will have aperture settings from f2.8 all the way up to f22. So almost think of it like your eyes. If something was far away and you want it to be really sharp, or you want to be able to see everything in detail, you're going to squint to your eyes. So you're actually going to make your aperture smaller.
Right.
And so an aperture this big would be f22. And then the lower the number you go, the more it opens up your lens, and things aren't as in focus or as sharp, right?
Right.
Obviously that brings in more light. So that's what aperture does. It's just how sharp do you want things, or do you want that blurry background? So if I was going to take a picture of you, aperture would let me control the ability to have you in focus, but the background all blurred out. And you'll see that at sports games. If you look at the photos from a Rough Riders game, you'll see the players where they're in focus, but the background, the crowd's all blurred out, and that's what aperture is doing.
And that's when it's at a low aperture or a high aperture when it's blurry in the background. Is that low or high?
Yeah, so if you're at, say, f2.8, a really low aperture, that background's going to be blurred right out.
Okay.
But if you're at, say, a really high aperture, like f22, you'll see the players in focus, and then you'll see the background. You'll see, like, that spectator drinking a Slurpee in the background.
Everything will be crystal clear kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Usually, for landscape photography, you'll always, I'm not a landscape photographer by any means, but if I was going to go out and shoot a nice landscape of Regina, I would be at, say, f16, f22 to get that nice, crisp, sharp focus, and everything in the background really sharp and looking nice. And yeah, you definitely wouldn't want f1.8 or something like that.
Okay. See, and I could have been taking pictures at like f1.8 or f2.0 or whatever, because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of learning and like playing with things. Shutter speed, does that have to do with light? I notice like whenever I'm outside and it's really bright out and my shutter speed is set a certain way, the whole image is like white. And I posted some pictures and people were laughing, I swear, just like, oh my God, what were you doing outside? Is that what that does, kind of?
Yeah. So shutter speed will actually control the amount of light. Aperture controls the amount of light as well. So you almost got to work 2 things together. So if you have aperture at a really if you have aperture, say at like f1.8, that means your lens is open this big and it's going to let a lot of light in.
Right.
So that means you'll want to slow your shutter speed down. So you might need to shoot at like 500th of a second or 1200th of a second or something like that, right? Shutter speed is just controls the amount of light coming in as well. One thing I always say is set your camera at like 1/60th of a second.
Okay.
Take a picture, and they'll be like, "Oh, it's really dark," and I'm like, "Well," or it's really bright. Let's say it's really bright, right? Well, you're at 1/60th of a second, so start speeding it up. Make it 1,000th of a second, or even maybe don't even have to go that high. Maybe go 500th of a second, and you'll see that the picture's starting to get darker. Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard to explain. I'm a I use a lot of flash. So it's my mindset is on flash photography, and aperture and shutter speed kind of play a different thing together, right? It's you just got to remember that if you have a low aperture, you'll need a faster shutter speed. Your lens, if you have a say at f1.8, right? Your lens is this open,
right?
And you're letting all this light. So if you're letting in more light, you gotta speed up the shutter. So you don't want to shoot at like 1/5 of a second, or else you're going to get that bright picture.
So like 1/500th or 1,000th or whatever your camera allows?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's say if you're shooting that landscape shot at f22, well now your lens is only open that much, and you're cutting all the light in half. So that means you have to go the other way around. So that means you have to go maybe 1/60th of a second, or you can pull out a tripod and go 30-second exposure, right? So that's where you get that camera shake. So anything lower than they say if you're shooting a 50mm lens, right? Anything below 1/50th of a second, you're going to get that camera shake, and you're going to be like, oh, why are my pictures blurry? Well, that's because you were using too slow of a shutter speed, and that's where you need a tripod.
Right.
That's the best way of explaining it. I'm probably not the
No, I totally get it, because when I played with the two things together, I couldn't get it, so it was just more experimentation than anything. Like I went out one time, this was just this past week on a bright sunny day, taking pictures and just trying things out. And my shutter speed when I got out was at like 1/1/4 or 1/10, and they were super bright. And then I'm like, okay, I'll change that. So I put it 1/100th, and it was still pretty bright. And I'm like, okay, still not really what I want, but getting better. So you know, playing around with it, I think is just so good to learn.
And there's two things you could have done there. Is you could have went all the way up to you could have went up higher, right? You could have went to 2,000th of a second, right? Or you could have your aperture setting. You could have raised that, so you could have went from, say you're at f1.8, you could have went all the way to f8 or f16. So that's another way of doing it as well.
Right. Okay, cool.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Well, just a couple more questions, I guess.
Sure.
As a beginner photographer, do you have any strategies you want to share, or like advice or anything that I should be doing? Other than taking pictures and experimenting, is there anything else I should be doing to learn?
Take business.
What's that?
Take business.
Business, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one regret I have getting into photography, is not taking the business side of it.
Okay.
Obviously taking pictures is a huge part of it, but I found running a photography business, taking pictures is only 5% of the actual job. The rest is meeting with clients, learning how to see light, how to light, reading, dealing with clients some more, maybe dealing with clients some more. It's a lot of babysitting, and that's the best way of doing it. Is you have to be a people person, you have to be able to talk, you have to be able to scout. So editing is a huge time consumer. You could be editing, if you're doing a photo shoot for Lululemon or Nike, you could be editing a photo for 2 hours. Some of the high-end retouchers, they may take 3 to 4 hours to edit one photo. So that's the crazy thing is photography. I got into it as like, I just want to take pictures, and that's still how I am. I just want to take pictures. I hate the editing part. I like dealing with people, and I like taking pictures. I can get rid of that editing part, I'll be happy.
Yeah, exactly.
The hardest thing is business. If any new photographer, if you're just looking at doing it as a hobby, it doesn't matter what camera you have anymore. As long as you're taking pictures and you're learning with that camera, that's awesome. Once you have that camera, once you know that camera inside and out, and you physically can't take any more pictures with that camera, then it's time to get a new one. Don't go out and buy the best gear, because you definitely don't need it in this day and age, because all the cameras you buy are all good. If you want to go into photography to make money off of it, business. That's all you can do. You take business school and marketing school because you could be the crappiest photographer out there, but if you know your business and marketing, you could be the most successful photographer out there.
Right.
So that's the one regret I have, is not taking that business part. I'm learning. It's just I'm not moving as fast as I want to, but that's
right.
Totally fine with me, as I do work another job. I'm a project planner at SaskTel, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm not in that rush to get where I want to be. I'm totally fine where I am right now. So if it takes me a couple of years to learn the business side and figure that out, I'm totally okay with that.
That's cool. That's super cool. One last question, actually.
Yeah.
So my class is all about using technology to learn about something. So we've been looking at, Twitter. I just got a Twitter account, and we've been looking at social media. We've had quite a few presentations about using technology and learning through technology and collaborating and stuff. Not just, if you're a teacher and everything, because a lot of teachers like to share and collaborate and everything, but for anything, it's really useful. Have you ever used technology to learn anything about photography, whether it's the actual taking pictures or, like you said, the business side of things?
Yep, definitely. That's pretty much how I learned from day one, is when I had that gal asked me to take her wedding. I had no idea what to expect or what to do, so what did I do online? A lot of workshops are done online now.
Okay.
There's a great website called Creative Live.
Live.
They're out of the States, and it's like an online classroom. So you go into their website and you can see all the different courses, and they have calendars saying this date we're going to have, let's just pick one of my favorite photographers, Joey L, right?
Okay.
We're going to have Joey L do commercial photography class. So you pay however much money. It could be a $300 course. You go in, you log into this website, and on the day of that course, it's live video of the instructor teaching with a live audience.
Oh, cool.
But you interact with the class live through Twitter or chat room, questions. So a lot of workshops I do are like that, just because a lot of the big photographers that I follow are in the States, and to travel, obviously, if I want to go travel to all these workshops, I'd be broke. So a lot of photographers, I think, in this day and age, everything's online.
Okay.
That's like everything else. But when I learned to be a mechanic, I just looked online as well.
Yeah. Are there any other tools you've used besides the class? Do you ever, look at blogs, or do you right now I'm doing that daily shoot, the daily photo shoot, doing one photo a day, so I'm kind of practicing doing one a day and trying to improve. And do you ever do anything like that? Or I guess, well, you don't really have to practice anymore.
Photos, I still gotta practice. I still think I suck. I look at my photos, and every time I look at my photos, I'm going, man, I suck. I think that's just a photographer thing. I look at my friends.
Oh, if you suck, I'm really bad.
It's just that it's just at that level. As soon as you get to that level, I think there was a point in my photography career where I was like, yeah, I took an awesome photo. I'm like, what was I thinking? No, I've through going back to your question, yeah, I still look at magazines. I think that's one of the traditional things of going to chapters. I'm seeing the cool fashion mags and seeing the ones that come from Europe. They're like the $50 magazines. You're like, oh shoot, I don't want to buy this magazine. You buy it and you're ripping with the pages of it. So I'm still learning through that, looking at other people's photographs. The photo where you do the one a day. Yeah. I have seen a lot of photographers do that, and I have seen that work for a lot of photographers.
Okay.
Where they set up a little photo shoot, whether it's a self-portrait or a friend. I thought about doing that. I just haven't ever been able to do it.
Yeah.
I think I got past day one, and that's about it. And
yeah, exactly. Well, you're way too busy. It sounds like to be doing a daily thing like that.
Too busy, or even when I tried to do it a second time, I was like, well, I hate carrying my SLR camera around. I even hate carrying this little guy around sometimes. And then I have my phone. I was like, it's gonna be a crappy picture anyway. I'll just do it later. And then I just forget because forgot about it. I'm just lazy. No, I'm not lazy. No, I just haven't picked up on that, but I do know that doing that photo every day is definitely a huge is valuable. I've seen a lot of photographers progress just doing that. A lot of things I do is I'm on the groups on Facebook. Facebook is a great community, especially within Saskatchewan. Within Saskatchewan and even Canada, we have the PPOC, which is the Professional Photographers of Canada Association.
Okay.
So within that association, there's a group of photographers that you can ask for questions or ask questions to, or ask advice for business, marketing, anything.
I'll have to check that out. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty tight group, and there's lots of groups out there on Facebook that are just Regina photographers. Even in Saskatoon, I know there's quite a few groups out there that like to get together and do their little photo dates, I guess.
Yeah.
They just like to get together and talk about photography and hang out. So Facebook's huge. Even posting photos up in those groups and having feedback from your peers telling if your photo sucks or not is it's good.
Well, it's cool to meet other people who have the same interest as you. That even if you've never met them, it's like, oh, cool. Like they have the same kind of photo as I have, but
yeah.
took it from a different perspective or something,
Exactly. Yeah, it's always nice to, even one thing I found that helps, it doesn't really have anything to do with technology, but even just teaming up with a photographer and doing like a collaborative shoot with them. So you set up a photo shoot, but you're the photographer and your buddy's the photographer, so you're both helping each other, and I found that's probably the best way for me, besides my online learning.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's how I'm a technology nerd, so.
Well, there you go.
I do a lot of online learning.
Yeah.
So, that's all I can really think of as far as technology-wise. Twitter, I don't use Twitter too much. I jumped on that when it first came out, and kind of disappeared from that, and then just recently I slowly started to get back on. I usually do Instagram posts, and Facebook posts, and I just have whatever I post on there go to Twitter, and that's my Twitter.
That's your sharing piece, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for making time for me and kind of getting me, to get to know photography a little better. It's always good to hear from, professional and stuff. So thank you so much. And if I have any questions, where can should I email you or like?
Yeah. Feel free. You can send me a message on Facebook or even this email, just contact@jasongrover.com. Okay. It's probably the best way of getting. And there's Twitter as well. Twitter, Jason_Grover.
Okay.
And my website too, jasongrover.com. Definitely, email's probably the fastest. I got email. Yeah. I got my phone attached to my hip, so I usually answer email before anything else.
Oh yeah, we all got our phones attached to our hips too.
Yep. But yeah, any questions or if you need me to clarify anything, or go into a little bit more detail or explain something further, let me know, and I'll definitely try my best to do that.
Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, you have a good night. Thanks.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.